Another wild and crazy day in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The last of the game ones were played, and of course, it got off to a very odd, auspicious start with Carolina and Boston. The game that was supposed to be played last night, but two teams decided to make history and go 5 overtimes. So, Carolina and Boston kicked off day two early, 11 a.m. Eastern, which was 8 a.m. here in the West Coast. And, well, Carolina wasn't happy about multiple overtimes pushing their game back, but they decided to have some long overtime of their own. It was a crazy game. Carolina actually scored first and actually scored a shorthanded goal to tie the game up at 2. But they didn't go to overtime and they went to double overtime. Now, we didn't get 90 minutes like last night, but it was pretty long. It was pretty good. It was a good long overtime. 21 minutes and 13 seconds. Patrice Bergeron scored in the second minute of the fifth period. So Boston is up 1-0 in this Eastern Conference Final rematch. The Islanders got pushed back a little bit. They ended up starting like a little after 1 o'clock here. And Washington, well, Oshie started things off with a pair of goals, and then the Islanders answered with 4 answers. One of those was shorthanded, and this is exactly why I picked the Islanders to win the series, because the Islanders know how to kind of mess with these powerhouses. Look, last year they swept and dominated the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, granted, an argument can be made that the Penguins are fading and the window's pretty much closed after this year, but it's still the Penguins. They still have Sidney Crosby. So the Isles struck first, in game one, and they're up 1-0. So that's another round robin team that fell off. And then that's right, we kicked off our series against Arizona, and for the most part, it was frustrating. I watched that game just going, because we were out shooting Arizona, but nothing was going in. And not a lot of penalties were committed. And I was like, we need a power play, but I just realized Arizona, they don't commit penalties. They didn't even commit anything close to where I could say, that should be a penalty. No, didn't see all that. So it was scoreless to 1, scoreless to 2, even though we had a damn near 4-to-1 shot ratio. Then, with about 7 minutes left, in regulation, this happened. Listen.
Here's McCarr. Shoots. Knocked out in front, backhanded. Score! It's a power play goal. Nazem Kadri banging away on the doorstep.
Nazem Kadri. I swear, I've been a Nazem Kadri fan since his Toronto days. And when I read about the trade, the only question I had was, why the hell did Toronto trade him? And but Naz came through. And scored on the power play to make it a 1-0 lead. But 10 seconds later,
Now Big Val will rumble in after the draw. Kicks it up to the point. Long shot there. Save, rebound. Tip free. Score! J.T. Comfer. Timothy right away gives the Avs a 2-0 lead.
and I just couldn't help but be amused. Like, all that anguish, nothing. But in a 10-second span, 2 goals. And we had another one just a minute later. So the Avalanche went from possibly heading to overtime scoreless, and possibly, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, possibly losing 1-0, either in regulation or in overtime, despite shooting. And Arizona get like 4 or 5 shots a period. We ended up winning 3-0 thanks to an explosion, a small explosion, 83 seconds. Darcy Kemper was great in that game, except for 83 seconds. Those 83 seconds were the difference. Amazing how hockey works, isn't it? But yeah, so the Avalanche drew first blood, and it's been kind of rare for us because that snapped a 3-game losing streak in game ones. Because we lost in 2018, we lost game one against Nashville. Last season, we lost game one against Calgary, the only loss in that series, and we lost game one against San Jose in that second round. So we finally won a game one for the first time since the 2014 playoffs against Minnesota, where we actually went up 2-0. But yeah, so we took care of that. Uh, it was pretty much a team. It was a team effort once again. Nazem Kadri. This is his second. He's got two. He has 2 goals in the playoffs, counting round robin. Both are game winners. Honestly, the sound I'm hearing right now is Leafs fans screaming in agony after Kadri scored that goal. Because I don't know. All I can say is my heart goes out to them. But anyway, what followed was a couple of more good games. Philly beat Montreal in a very close game. It was Hart versus Price, and Hart managed to be 1 goal better, 2-1 final. So Philly, the top seed in the East, took game one. And the last game that just ended a few minutes ago, the Vancouver Canucks beat down the champs. My goodness, 5-2. And I think it was a tie game after 40 minutes, and Vancouver just exploded. Now, I don't know. Now, St. Louis didn't play too well in the round robin. They didn't win a game in the round robin, but they didn't go pointless like Boston did. However, Boston actually won game one. So again, it's hockey. But I still think Carolina should beat them out. I just have that feeling. Carolina can mess with teams. Uh, will Vancouver mess with the champs? That's the thing. I mean, game one. It's only one game, but if St. Louis isn't careful, we could see for the second year in a row a defending Cup champion out in round one. So, so a quintet of crazy games. We got more playoff overtime. So, so in this traditional Stanley Cup playoffs, we've seen playoff overtime twice in as many days, and each time it was multiple periods. Will the trend continue? Will the trend continue tomorrow? What's in store for us tomorrow? Well, I will tell you. It's 4 games, 4-game twos. Teams have a chance to even their series. Columbus, Chicago, Carolina. Yes, Carolina goes back to work because of this crazy schedule. And Dallas. It starts with Columbus and Tampa Bay at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. And I love playoff overtime, but I think Carolina Boston are hoping they go 60 minutes this time. And Chicago and Vegas is the second game. The third game is Carolina and Boston, game 2, and Calgary and Dallas. So it's a quartet of game twos coming up tomorrow. The game ones that were played, they were all crazy, they were all interesting, they were all thrilling, were epic. But it's just the beauty of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that is my recap of day 2. And I'll be back tomorrow night to recap tomorrow's action. So until then, fellow puckheads.